So kid, you looking to make the big bucks, no experience required? Maybe you're a family man trying to support his family with one salary, and we all know how hard that is. Well, come on down to the company today and apply. We provide you with fulfilling work of collecting scrap. You're basically getting paid to work out, travel to unique places, bask in the breathtaking views, and interact with the friendly locals.
Guys, what do we do about him? What do we do about him?
Decked out in the latest and most fashionable safety suits, you'll be protected from most any hazard you'll encounter on the job. Forge lifelong friendships with your crewmates.
Where's he?
He died. Just go.
Oh.
There's a worm. We
Sick.
gotta go. And check out the sweet ride you get on the job. It even autopilots. If this interests you, apply to the company today. This game has impressively surpassed Baldur's Gate 3 and Resident Evil 4 as Steam's highest rated cooperative game in just 6 weeks. So how does a $10 early access game do this? It might have something to do with being only $10, making it more accessible to some, but it goes to show that games don't need a AAA budget to be good. Developed by a single Chad by the name of Zeekers, this game has taken the gaming scene by storm. You've probably seen a lot of famous content creators and streamers playing this already. This isn't Zeekers' first game either. They have also developed and published 3 other horror games beginning in 2020. Without further ado, let's get into it. As explained in that lovely recruitment video earlier, Lethal Company is a game about working with your friends to collect scrap from desolate planets or moons from around the solar system to get as much loot as possible to meet your ever-increasing quota in 3 days' time. Each map you land in will be the same on the exterior, but when you enter into the facility, the layout and loot is randomly generated, so you won't ever get the same run twice. Be sure to watch your back as the new inhabitants of these places don't take too kindly to your presence, and coordinate with your crew to avoid or fight these threats. This game is entirely 3D, and the visual designs for the environments, characters, monsters, and scrap aren't too complex. This is excusable as too much detail would be really visually crowding, especially when you're trying to navigate the dark. Speaking of the dark, I hope you're not afraid of it as there's a lot of it. There are surprisingly complex shadows that can be cast like lights shining through the catwalks or from your flashlight when you're carrying crates of bottles or similar items. The indoor environments are nearly always pitch black, save for a few light sources if you're lucky, and have enough flavor like pipes, catwalks, and shelves to make them feel like they were once industrial while being empty enough to feel abandoned and desolate. The outdoor environments are pretty diverse and unique to the moon you're landed on. Some are dry deserts that support no life, and others are lush forests that overtake where humanity has lost. There are no music tracks in this game, and that's perfect as there doesn't need to be any. The game relies solely on the ambient sounds of things happening around you. The rain or wind outside can obscure the growls of monsters waiting to get you. Inside, your footsteps are loud and echo through the mostly empty hallways and change depending on the ground you're walking over, and the enemy's footsteps make a sound just as yours do. I once made the mistake of thinking a bug creature in the fog was a teammate and fell victim. I heard them approaching, called out, and that was the end of me. That also brings me to proximity chat, which is incredibly dynamic in this game. In case you aren't aware, proximity chat means that your in-game voice gets quieter as you get further away from your companions and they can't hear you after death. You can even hear them through walls, and I like this as it adds to the mystery if you get separated. They might not be just around the corner like you think, but in a completely different room or a floor above or below you. If they get latched onto by a face-hugging bug, their screams get muffled so you can't hear them and your other allies might not never know what happened. Very good attention to detail.
Can you get his stuff in that corner? Yeah. It's looking at you.
There's a walkie-talkie there still.
Alright.
When you start a game, your crew spawns in on your very own ship. There's the terminal where you'll choose your travel destination, purchase items from the store, and manipulate some things in the compound your companions will travel to, but more on that in a minute. Next is the monitor. Here you can view your crewmates on the inside. the direction they're facing, the map they're traversing, and lastly, you'll notice some colored blips. Green is lootable items, and red is threats. Information is power, as they say. If you have a full team, it's a good idea to have a guy in the chair keeping an eye on everyone, and so they can escape with what loot they do have inside the ship if things get too hairy. On the wall here is your charger, where you charge your electrical devices like walkie-talkies and flashlights. The amount of charge is indicated in the top left with your health indicator and stamina bar. Speaking of those things, as transitions are hard, your health isn't super clearly indicated by a bar like your stamina is. You're given a vague idea of how bad you're hurt by how red the figure is until it reads critical injury, and then you know you're one hiccup away from death. Your stamina will recover slowly if you drain it all the way, or if you're carrying a lot of weight, which is also indicated near the bar. The amount of weight you carry also drains your stamina more quickly. Back to the ship. This red cabinet is very important. Whatever items you store here will be safe even if the entire team dies. Most of your valuable loot won't be storable in this cabinet, but will be dropped on the floor. You can lose this stuff if everyone dies and the next day begins. Lastly, you have the door to the ship, your only line of defense separating you from the outside. When you hit the red button to close it, you'll see the hydraulic pressure percentage begin to drop. You can't close the door forever, so bear that in mind when you have monsters charging at you. They'll eventually lose interest if you're lucky, but you have to time it to make the most out of the door lock. Moving on to the ground team. You have 4 spaces for carrying objects, and then there are what I refer to as big objects that can't be put in your pocket and must be carried with 2 hands, but they still take up one of your 4 slots. Oftentimes, you'll have a slot or 2 taken by flashlights, walkie-talkies, or even weapons to defend yourself. When you right-click, you activate your ping ability. This helps you find loot in the direction you're facing, and can help you find the main entrance to the facility or your way back to the ship. It also tells you the value of the scrap within your vision. It doesn't always work through solid objects. Walking up to the facility you'll be exploring, there is the main entrance, and as I said before, the exterior of the moon you're on doesn't really change, so the entrance will be on the same location every time. Map knowledge is important on finding your way back, especially if you're wandering through the fog or the dark. Inside, your loot will be randomly generated and randomly placed, so your ping ability is your best friend as you wander around. Sure, you can get some help from the guy back at the ship, but their attention won't be on just you the whole time, so take some responsibility. The most lucrative piece of loot in a lot of these places is the apparatus, which serves as a power source for the facility, and will cut out all of the lights once you remove it. A radiation warning will sound, but you can ignore that. Other than that, it just makes all the monsters within the facility more aggressive, but no biggie, right? As you wander, you will find hazards. There will be gaps to jump across that kill you if you fall. There will be broken steam vents that obscure your vision but can be stopped if you find the valve to shut them off. There will be landmines, turrets, and blast doors blocking your path, and these can be deactivated by your man on the computer typing in their number-letter combination code, but beware as they will reactivate after a short time. And worst of all will be the monsters awaiting you. You can kill most of these if you get enough opportunity, or have a crew and the necessary gear with you. This is another place the store comes in. You can purchase stun grenades, stun guns, and melee weapons. Hell, you can even get a teleporter to bring your boys back if there's no other way out, but they will drop everything that they're carrying. Perhaps the greatest hazard of all is the clock. If you take all day inside the facility and come out at night, monsters will spawn and stand between you and the relative safety of the ship, so it's best to work quickly. 1 second in real life is about 1 minute within the game, and monsters begin to spawn outside between 5 and 6 p.m., so that gives you roughly 9 to 10 minutes. It's still possible to escape at night, but much more treacherous. If you're fortunate enough to escape with your life and some loot, you take the ship and all of your valuables to the company planet where you will drop your items off on the counter to be sold. And when you're ready to sell, you ring the bell that let them know to come get it. You might notice the percentage above the counter, and this tells you at what percent the company is purchasing your goods at. Even if you manage to get a ton of loot on your first day, the company will only purchase at 50%, and it will increase as the days go by. This incentivizes the player to keep going out there and keep getting more stuff, but you also still run the risk of losing everything if you all die. Once you get some experience under your belts and some credits in your wallet, you might consider going to one of the higher tier planets to get more precious loot because, as I said before, the quota will keep increasing, requiring more loot and more valuable loot to meet it. You do not want to miss the quota or you will be disciplined.
So I
As you have
ran
not
into
met the profit quota, your performance has been deemed below standard. Welcome to our disciplinary process.
disciplinary process.
There are mid-tier planets that are free to go to, but there will be greater threats to face than on the lowest tier planets. To go to one of the higher tier planets such as Titan, you must pay the fee to go there in the first place, and you must pay this fee every time you travel back there, even after selling at the company planet. With there being more precious loot here, the terrain both inside and outside gets more difficult, and the monsters you meet are much more deadly. Make sure you are prepared in mind, spirit, and gear before attempting. Another thing to consider when choosing your destination is the weather of the place you're going, as it will be displayed on the terminal when you're choosing. Rain, fog, and storms can be bad news if you're not careful, and you especially need to watch out for eclipsed planets. The eclipse causes monsters that normally spawn outside at night to spawn immediately as you land. Avoid at all costs if possible. The story of this game isn't told to you directly, but you can find it if you're willing and want to. You will find what I believe to be similar to cassette tape logs on the different planets and find them as the days progress on your current run. To begin reading them, there is a sticky note on the wall of your ship with the code to read these encrypted logs. I'll spare you much of the details as this isn't a lore video, but it follows a certain crewmate who decides to keep a log of his journeys to keep his sanity. He begins talking about how hopeful he is and curious as to why the job pays so well. He and his brother join an existing crew who lost previous mates on the job. As time goes on, the writer gets more scared and begins to forget how long he's been working and tells of the many creatures that they encounter. He keeps writing until one day he's the last original crew member left and eventually stops writing at all. Well, that was a ride, wasn't it? One last thing I want to note before concluding this video is that you can mod it to increase the size of the lobby so you can play with more than 4 players total. Only when using this mod I experienced my first ever glitch in this game. I wasn't able to hear one specific friend of mine in the lobby, I could hear everyone else just fine. I don't know if his mod was messed up or if mine was or what really happened, but upon removing the mod from my Lethal Company files it was fixed. At the time of recording, I haven't used it again since, but I most likely will at some point. All in all, this game is really fun. It's impressive that one person was able to create something creative and engaging enough to surpass Baldur's Gate 3 of all games. Baldur's Gate is one of my favorite games to come out this year. I didn't think anything would surpass it, but Lethal Company has in terms of positive reviews. From my perspective as a player, I don't see much that can be improved upon from where the game is now, but the dev Zeekers is active in the Steam community and is speaking about more updates coming, and I can't wait to see what they hold. On the company planet, there is a large empty space underneath where the ship lands, so I must be planning on putting something there. I will definitely be playing this game with friends for a long time. It would be nice to have some sort of healing item in the game, perhaps some kind of bandage you can carry with you that heals a little bit of the damage taken, or some kind of medical machine on the ship that takes a longer time to fully heal you, making you weigh the options of if you could better use that time getting more loot or helping your crew. Well, that's all I have for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Comment down below if you have a game you want to see reviewed and I'll give it a look. I'll see you guys next time.